It's a tranquil and sunny Sunday morning on the Isle of Man, and I'm walking along the mountain road, which is currently closed because it is being prepared for a certain event that will take place here again in about 6 weeks' time. And that, of course, is the Isle of Man TT. So, reason again then for me to get off the couch, grab my camera and update my TT Visitors Guide. Firstly, thanks for everyone who watched last year's edition, which was sort of the first time I did that kind of thing, who commented on it, and especially for the people who talked to me during TT in person. It means a lot to me to get your feedback, and it makes it all worthwhile. This isn't my job, this is just a hobby. And if I see that it's useful for you and that it sort of adds something to your experience, then I'm super happy. So, diving straight into it, as you can see, the mountain road is currently closed. It's being prepared. Every year they close it a few weeks before TT to, of course, make sure it is in a condition that makes racing possible, because it is a public road during the year. There's trucks and cars and all sorts of things traveling through here, and then sort of like 4 to 8 weeks before TT, they paint the curbs, they close the road, re-tarmac everything, make sure it's spick and span for when the bikes come. So I'm not going to go through all the bits from last year's. I'm going to link to it here and below, last year's edition, because some of the information is pretty timeless, and you can just, if you haven't watched the 2022 version, which was sort of the first one I did of these, hop back to that one and watch that. I would recommend, but I'm going to try and keep this one relatively short and just update it with maybe relevant bits for 2023. So let's start with a look at the format of TT 2023. Of course, before TT, there are always the pre-TT races at the Billon circuit from the 26th to the 28th of May this year. Very recommended that you visit those, maybe arrive here a couple of days early, take in the pre-TT races. Always a fan favorite. Of course, a lot of the TT riders go there and warm themselves up for the big event. As far as TT 2023 itself is concerned, once you bought your program, 10 quid in all shops here, Connor comments on the cover this year, you're going to notice a race schedule that differs quite a little bit from what you've seen last year or indeed in previous years. For starters, we have a 10 race schedule this year, which is more than we had before, so the government thought it would be a great idea to shake up the races. Some people agree what they're going to try, some people don't. So the biggest changes are we now have 10 races. We have a second Superstock race, we have a second Super Twins race. TT runs from the 29th of May until the 10th of June. Those dates sound pretty much like any other TT you probably heard of. On the 29th of May we have morning practice, not as early as we used to have, so not 5 or 6 a.m. bikes, but I think they have like a 10 a.m. practice because it's a bank holiday. Other than that, we have plenty of practice and race days. 10 races in total, and the biggest changes really are, well, that we have those second races, the second Super Stock and Super Twin, but also that we have racing on Mad Sunday, which pretty much means the end of Mad Sunday. Now, if you follow the TT in recent years, you will know that Mad Sunday hasn't been mad for quite a while. Mad Sunday originally got its name from the fact that the mountain road, so the main road from Ramsey to Douglas, which is of course part of the mountain circuit where the TT runs, used to be two-way during TT, believe it or not, crazy as it sounds. And for one day a year, or for one day during TT, they would make it one-way, and pretty much everyone could have a go, let their inner McGuinness out, and that's why it was called Mad Sunday. That was done on that Sunday. Now, a few years ago, they made the decision to make the mountain road one way for the whole of TT. And since then, Mad Sunday has mellowed down. So maybe someone now thought, okay, we don't really need Mad Sunday anymore. There's racing on Mad Sunday. Of course, this will affect all the other events that usually take place on Mad Sunday. I can tell you not everyone's happy about this change. Sunday racing isn't anything new. We've done that before. But the fact that this famous Mad Sunday is basically no more, it's pretty much been killed off with this, doesn't sit well with a lot of people. Maybe the event needs to evolve in things like this, in ways like this. Maybe it's not good. We will see, give them the benefit of the doubt. The second huge change that you will notice in the schedule this year is that the senior race, the Blue Ribbon event, which was always on a Friday, as long as I can remember, is now on a Saturday, on the 10th of June. So they're stretching TT out. The government thinks it will enable more people to come here. It will help the event grow, yada, yada, loads of marketing speak. There was a consultation. I think most people were actually against a lot of the changes the government proposed. Of course, government knows best and they just did it anyway. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt and see how it pans out. But putting the senior race, for example, on a Saturday, I can see some problems with it, especially for European travelers. On Friday, when it was on Friday, if you were from Europe, say Germany, France, Spain, you could watch the senior, you could hop on the ferry in the evening or Saturday morning, and you could basically make it back home by Sunday, and you could be back and work on Monday. Now, with the senior race now on a Saturday, that sort of has a knock-on effect on travel plans. So the travel patterns of fans will very likely change. If that's a good or bad thing, we will see. It also puts additional pressure on Marshals because there are, more races. The other thing that some people have voiced concern with this new schedule is that there only seem to be 2 rest days for the riders during the whole of TT. The TT is a dangerous event. Is it okay to only have 2 rest days in there? Let me know what you think about that in the comments. So some people are for it and think it's a good idea to stretch the TT out a bit in this way and to, try and grow it, because there's only so much capacity that we have to bring people over here and back every day. And some people say it's a bad idea and, it puts pressure on marshals and riders and the whole island. We will see. So 29th of May to 10th of June is the TT itself. We have 2 more races. We have 10 race days. We have no more Med Sunday, so racing on Med Sunday. We have a senior race on Saturday. I believe it's 100 years for the sidecars this year, so there's a special sidecar parade lap coming. That's going to be worth looking out for. Your best bet is to get your program. All the shops in town sell it. It's only 10 quid. Good value for money. It has all your entry lists, so you can sit, at the side of the road and follow your favorite riders. Always a good thing to do. Now, one thing that is not taking place this year is the post-TT races. And indeed, it seems after 31 years, they have been cancelled completely. And they are a victim of this new TT schedule, of the stretched out schedule. And well, not everyone's happy about it, certainly not the people who used to attend those races and, watch and race there. But that's it. So there are no post-TT races anymore. If they will ever come back, we don't know. But they are a victim of this new TT schedule. So let's see how this year goes. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to see the TT grow and prosper and be with us for many years to come. Is this the right strategy to do it? I think we'll revisit this after the TT. Let's just enjoy this year's event. So hopping into spectating, of course, the TT course hasn't changed very much, even though they're working on it right now, as they always do just before the races. 37.75 miles of public roads. You can still largely watch it for free just by standing at the side of this road. Of course, there are again organized fan zones and VIP areas and experiences. Check out Duke Travel for that. They can help you with that. Now, I'm well on record as not being a fan of all the VIP stuff, but I do appreciate and recognize the fact that the kind of visitor we get at the TT is changing, or has changed already in recent times. It's not so much the hardcore biker anymore that comes here in, his whole letters riding over from Europe. Of course, we still get those, but we also get a lot more people from further afield, especially a lot of Americans are coming over now ever since the TT had new media deals and is on TV in the States. And that's very great to see all of you. And of course, that's a different crowd. They don't necessarily, want to sit at the side of the road with a beer in their hand. They appreciate some more creature comforts, and we do cater for that a little bit more now. So yes, you can have your organized fan zones, viewing zones with proper seating, with some food and drinks. You can have a VIP experience up near the grandstand. And if you want that kind of thing, that's perfectly cool, So we offer that. Check out the packages. Enjoy the TT in any way you want. Personally, for me, TT really does mean sitting at the side of the road. Check last year's guide, like I said, for the my favorite spots to watch. I don't really need to repeat them here. Also check out my other video that I did on the advanced spectating at the TT. Now the TT, of course, one lap being 37 miles and taken between 17 and 20 minutes, means there's a lot of time where you stare at empty track when, between bikes. And you can switch positions if you plan it a little, and then you can see the riders. Say you do it during the senior race, there's a good chance if you organize it well that you can see the bikes at different spots, different viewing spots for all 6 laps. So you sort of maximize your viewing experience. I have a video on that on my channel, just look for it. There's an advanced spectating guide in Douglas. I might try and expand on that this year. Let's see. But, watch it however you want. Please, when you're at the side of the road, this is something everyone noticed. I certainly noticed, everyone else noticed last year. We have, I don't think, ever seen so much debris and objects and things flying onto the track. And that is absolutely dangerous. You know, there was a helmet flying down here at, I think it was down here at the crack somewhere. There's video somewhere. I've seen energy drinks and all sorts of things falling on the track, and that really is dangerous. If a bike hits that at 200 miles an hour, it's not going to end well. So if you are watching from the side of the track, please make sure, you know, everything you have with you, your food wrappers, cans, your helmet, stuff doesn't fall onto the track. If you see someone else do something dangerous, call them out on it, tell the marshals. If you do see something falling on the track, alert the nearest marshals. They have flags, they can warn the riders, this is dangerous. So yeah, please be careful when you're at the side of the track. And of course, please do listen to the marshals when they give you instructions. They are there for everyone's safety and to make this event possible. And you know, without them, we wouldn't have racing. And of course, if you ignore the instructions of a marshal, then you will very quickly see a police car turn up, because they will call the police if they think there's a safety issue, and we don't want that. The grandstand and the surrounding area here in Nobles Park may look nice and tranquil at the moment, but of course that will change drastically in about a month's time, when this area will be bustling with visitors. There'll be the t-shirt stands here and the hot dog stands and all the other entertainment that's going on, and that's what I want to look at next. So let's start with the Monster Energy fan zone. I think it's still called that. That will be back on the lawn here, on the fields in Nobles Park. It will be pretty much like last year. So you're going to have big screen viewing, you're going to have food stands, there's a bar there. And it's a really nice area to hang out during or outside of the races, really. There will be one little difference, and that is there will be no live music after, I think it's 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening. And I actually had something to do with that. So, as you may know, I am a Douglas councillor, and Douglas Council owns Nobles Park. Now, we don't put the TT on, that's central government. So the way this works is we own and look after all this area here during the year, but for the TT we have a licensing agreement with the central government. So we basically give them the keys and say, fine, here, put on the TT, you know, do your thing, but there are certain conditions attached to it. And one of the conditions that is new for this year, and this is based on feedback we received from last year, is that the fan zone's there and people can have fun and have a drink and, you know, enjoy themselves and big screens and all this usual stuff. But in the evening, we had complaints from people who live nearby, because this is a residential area outside of racing. And there's also a couple of other thoughts behind it that we decided, and I'm actually on the committee that decided this. I'm not the chairman, but I voted for it, that it would be best not to have late night live music here for the noise. For the people who live nearby, for the riders who will try and sleep, and I wouldn't want them, because I saw last year there's a lot of the riders' trucks, for example, they're nearby. The paddock is here. And I think it's just beneficial if that maybe is a little more quiet, only at certain, you know, sort of late night-ish times. And of course, we also want people to go down into town and check out the local attractions and the pubs and everything. And there's quite a lot to see. So this year, fan zone is back. You can hang out here during the day, and you can also hang out here in the evening, but there won't be live music. That's the only thing. I think the bars will still be open until late. So that's all stays unchanged. We just, you know, give the residents and the riders a bit of a break so they can catch a good night's sleep. And I hope you understand that. And I know not everyone will be happy about it, but I think it's the right decision and I stand by that. So, other entertainment. I'm going to link to all the usual stuff might be of interest to you in the description. There's plenty going on, way too much to mention it all here. But of course, there are a few things worth mentioning. The Bushies TT Village is back down in Douglas. So if you went there last year, that big sort of almost festival-like area near the prom, Villa Marina, that's back. There will not be a music festival on Douglas Prom by 1886 like last year. It was fantastic that 1886 guys did put that on, but I think they lost probably a bit of money with that, and they don't fancy putting it on again this year, which I totally understand. But it was awesome to have it. But there's nothing on that side. There's none of the old Bushies beer tent and the bottleneck car park. Those times are long gone. So as far as other entertainment is concerned, there's gonna be plenty going on, even with the changed schedule. There'll be the Port Erin TT Day. There'll be Beach Cross in Peel. The Red Arrows are back. Of course, the TT fireworks at the end of the festival, they're also back. There's the Ramsey Sprint, that's always a favorite. There's Peel TT Day, there's also a Douglas Beach race. So all your TT favorites are still here. There's also the motorcycle show and the Derby Sprint. And of course, if you're up there in Derby, then a visit to the Motor Museum and TT Museum up in Derby is an absolute must while you're here. It's a fantastic facility with hundreds of bikes and over 100 cars and a really, really nice place. Say hello to my mate Steve, who works there and will welcome you with a smile and answer any questions that you have. And he's going to hate me for saying that. But no, it's a must do to go there. So again, I'm going to link to all the entertainment stuff. I'm going to list sort of the key events below so you have the dates, and I will list the links to anything where you can find more information below. Most of these events, they're just free, just turn up and watch and enjoy yourself. And stop press, one last bit of information just in on the entertainment front, and that is the fun fair will actually be back. It's just been in the news, so I just recorded an extra bit here. So if you've been to the TT before Corona that is, then you may remember that in some years we had a big fun fair down on the promenade with, I don't know, all the usual attractions and rides and whatnot. And it looked like it wouldn't come, but now they've managed to get transport and the government's done something. So the fun fair will be back. It's down on Douglas Promenade, as it was in most years. And yeah, that's something else to look forward to on the entertainment front. One very important topic I quickly want to mention are the TT Marshals, the Orange Army, which of course is headquartered right here behind the grandstand in Douglas, as all of you will know. The Marshals will be more important this year than ever before, I feel, primarily due to the changed format of the TT. It's no longer, it goes into Saturday. That puts additional stress on the requirement to have Marshals. Now, without Marshals, if you're new to the TT course, the mountain course that we use these days, is 37.75 miles, 200 bends. It's a long track. And we need, I think it's around about 900 Marshals. Someone will certainly correct me in the comments if I got that number wrong. We need around 900 Marshals to stand at the side of the road at various points to enable racing to take place. Without Marshals, there is no racing. It is that simple. They're not decoration. They're not there to watch and have a nice time. I mean, fine, they have that too. They're a great community. But they're primarily there to enable us to have the racing and to race as safely as we can and to put on this wonderful event. So without Marshals, no racing. It's as simple as that. And I feel there is additional pressure on them this year with this new format that the government thinks is a great idea and many people think is probably not such a great idea. We will see after, okay? Let's stay positive. But we need Marshals. If you have never considered marshalling, sign up. Website here, put it below as well. It's a great community of people who, they're all volunteers, who come here, who help to put the event on, who donate their time to do so. You will be given training if you're new, so don't worry about it. They will, train you what to do. You're not going to be on your own. They don't just put you somewhere and you'll be scared what to do. No, you'll be safe, you'll be trained, and you can help to put the races on. So please, if you have never marshaled, please consider doing so. Hop on the website, sign up, get in touch with them, guys. They're always looking for Marshals, and I do have a feeling we will need them more than ever this year. So that's the Marshals. Also, of course, if you are watching on the course, please do listen to the Marshals. They are there for a reason. I know I keep saying this, and I say this in the roads closed section and everything, and it's just worth repeating, okay? If a marshal gives you an instruction, and even if it means leaving a spot that you really like, or it frustrates you, or you think he's wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter, okay? Listen to them, please. Because if you don't, they're going to radio the sector marshal. The sector marshal radios the police. And before you know it, A, racing may get delayed. B, you may put yourself in danger. You may be in danger without realizing it. That is, one of the reasons. You may not realize that where you are is actually a dangerous spot. The marshals know it. So listen to them, please. It's so important that you do that and that you respect them. And they are volunteers, and they donate their time and their effort and their energy to help us put on the event. So consider being a marshal. And if you not want to be a marshal, it's totally fine. They're volunteers. Then please treat them with respect. Listen to them when they give you instructions, and let's all work together to put on this event in as safe and a wonderful way as we can. While I'm here, I might also mention a very, very important point and repeat a very important message that I also had in last year's guide, and that is roads closed means roads closed. And with that, of course, I mean the fact that the Isle of Man TT takes place on what are otherwise public roads It's the end of April now, and as you can see, the grandstand's nice and quiet. Glencrutchery Road, which is the start and finish straight of the TT, is a public road. People go about their daily lives there right now. It's a grey and miserable day, and it's just starting to rain. Once TT comes along in about 30 days time from now, when we put the signs up, it's not a public road anymore. It becomes legally a racetrack. We literally have laws for this. That's why the TT takes place. They wanted to do it in the UK in the olden days. They couldn't, so we brought in the laws here that allows it. If you disregard the roads closed signs, if you step onto the road, try and cross it on foot, or God forbid if you try and drive on it or ride on it with your car or bike, getting arrested will be the least of your worries. In fact, that's probably the best possible outcome you can hope for. It will very likely be the end of your TT. You're going to end up in jail. You're going to end up fined. It's not going to be pleasant when they catch you, but really that's the least of your worries. The primary reason that you should not do it is because it is just so absolutely massively dangerous. This is not, and if you've been here before, you will know this, so you can probably skip this, if you're sensible and you promise not to cross the road. If you're new to the TT, this is not like any other event where you've been, say, in a rally in Scandinavia or, I don't know, a beach enduro where you can see the bike and you can quickly cross the track. No. You cannot cross the road, you cannot walk along the pavements, and the primary reason is really safety. The bikes go at such absolute massive speeds, you would not have a chance to react. I promise you, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. I've filmed it, I've seen crashes. You will not have time to react. So it's an absolute, legally, it is a racetrack and you will get arrested, but really it's a safety issue, okay? You put yourself in danger, you put the rider in danger, you put the marshals in danger who may have to run after you and the police, and just don't do it, okay? If it's roads closed, it's roads closed. Sometimes, so there's a few footbridges where you can cross if you're pedestrian, so you're not totally stuck. Of course, we have the access road if you need to drive in and out. That is in Douglas by Quarterbridge Road. That's the only way in and out to drive in and out of the course when the roads are closed. Other than that, you just have to wait either until the roads reopen, or you have to wait until a crossing point opens. Sometimes when there's a delay in racing, for example, they open crossing points. They will be very clearly marked. There's no doubt that if you're allowed to cross or not. There will be marshals there. It will be a barrier there. It will say crossing point open. Then you can cross from in and out. But outside of that, do not step on the track when the roads are closed, please. Check the roads closed times. They're always published, or they're always on Radio TT, for example. And yeah, once that time passes and you see the signs go up, every junction, every sign, every side road will have barriers or rope or signs. There will be no doubt that the road is closed, okay? There's absolutely no, you can't step on it and then say, oh, I didn't know. No, it's not going to fly, okay? It's pretty clear. It's for your own safety. Please don't do it. Also, and I also said this last year, please do not try and chase the old roads open car. Now, I have a video on my channel, I'll link to it below, that explains what the roads open car is and how we reopen the course after racing. It being 37 miles, you can't just, take the barriers off. There has to be a method to the madness. That's what we have the roads open car for. And some clowns always try and chase that to let out the inner McGuinness. Yeah, don't do that, okay? There will be police officers around the course, and that will be the end of your TT, because it's stupidly dangerous. So don't do that. Don't do what one guy did 1 year especially and try and overtake the roads open car, because the road in front of the roads open car is legally still a racetrack. So you will get arrested. And yeah, that guy got into so much trouble. Jesus, he's probably still walking now. Also, while we're at the topic of roads closed, and yes, I did say this last year as well, please don't leave it to the last minute to go to your favorite viewing spot. It actually worked pretty well last year. People are getting, sensible, and I think we have a different type of visitor now. There's still loads of bikers, which is great, but we also get a lot more people from America, for example, who fly over, because the TT is, of course, quite popular there. The number of American tourists that stopped me last year was fantastic, so it's great to see you guys here. But there's still plenty of great viewing spots, of course, and people very often leave it too late to go there. So you spend your day, doing whatever in the morning, and then roads close at 1, so we need to go to wherever we want to watch from. And then people rush to get to their favorite viewing spot before the roads close, and then they crash because they're rushing and everyone's rushing, and then, that's how bad things happen. So don't rush, take your time, make a day out of it, get to your favorite viewing spot in good time so you don't have to rush and beat the roads closed sign. If you are on the road while it closes, which of course can happen, then there will be either marshals or police officers who will guide you off the course. You have to adhere to their instructions. If they tell you to leave the road and turn off the road, then do it. Otherwise, trouble. So respect the closed roads. It's for your own safety. Do not cross them. Please watch after your stuff as well. There were so many incidents last year with stuff falling onto the track, and it's just very, very dangerous. And yeah, don't step on closed roads. Thank you. Of course, when it comes to traveling here, first, before you can watch, you have to actually get here, right? Still only two main options, and that is either by sea or by air. Now, they were meant to have a new boat in place for this year, the Manx, which is twice as big as the Banbury, the one we have, or almost twice as big, 1,000 passengers, huge thing, beautiful new boat. And it's delayed. There were some problems with it. It's still somewhere in Korea being built or tested or something, or fixed. So it's still the Banbury you're going to use to get over here. 500 something passengers on it, either from Heysham to Douglas or Liverpool to Douglas, or you have the Manannan, the Fastcraft. So that's your sea options. Steam Packet, still the only ferry company, link here. If you fly here, again, our airport is still pretty much as it was, still open skies policy, so check out the airport website to see which airlines fly here at the moment. I think the primary airlines that we have at the moment are EasyJet and Logan Air. There might be some others. This tends to change a lot, so it's best if you just check out the airport website for that. The airport, unfortunately, hasn't really improved. It's still the little airport it always was. Apparently there's a new manager, so we hope that things will improve there. It had quite a lot of cancellations and issues in the last month or the last few months. Maybe that will improve. They changed the ILS, the landing system. Weather usually isn't too bad. Most delays and cancellations we get for flights over here is due to weather. During the TT, usually that's not that bad, so you should be okay, but always keep an eye on that website. One thing with the airport that's new now, if you were here last year, and this is maybe more if you actually live here, parking is now chargeable again, so they charge again. Last year they didn't, because it was still after COVID. During COVID they stopped charging for parking there because nobody was using it and the barriers were broken anyway. And now they brought in a new app system, so you have to pay if you park at the airport. I think 1 hour is free, but they're changing that now. So basically, if you go to the airport to park there to pick someone up, check the signs, because you have to pay now and they actually give you tickets. And yeah, so maybe you end up with a 60 quid there. I've seen so many cars getting tickets there. Just read the signs before you park there. If you arrive here, it's always best to pre-book a taxi, because there aren't many taxis at the airport at the moment. So it's not like in London where you can just hop in a black cab. So if you arrive here, it's worth organizing your transport, but there's also a bus station. So if you go into any of the towns, or Douglas, the only city, there's a bus every 15-20 minutes from the airport, so you'll be fine. Buses are still cheap. I think the bus fare from the airport to Douglas is £2.70 last time I used it. So no worries, you'll get away there. Quick look at shopping. Still pretty much the same as it was last year. Biggest supermarkets here, there's a Tesco in Douglas, that's the only one we have. There's ShopRite, which is sort of our local supermarket chain. They have supermarkets in Douglas, in Onken, in Port Erin, Peel, Castletown, Ramsey. And then we have little spas and co-ops, so you'll be fine for all that. And you use your corner shops. We still don't have an Aldi, we still don't have a Lidl. There's no Waitrose, none of the other chains. I think ShopRite stocks Sainsbury range or something, if you're after that, but that's about it. If you need any sort of camping equipment, that kind of thing, again, Tesco and ShopRite usually stock it for TT. Your barbecue, grill, coals, seats, tent stuff. I've seen ShopRite actually has sort of a range of stuff now that looked very well priced, so check out those if you need camping equipment. Also in Strand Street in Douglas, our main shopping street, there's a few shops there, Mountain Warehouse, Jack Store if you need anything, and there's a Deals, which is of course one of the cheapest stores. So, you know, if you need that kind of stuff, I don't know, rain ponchos, that kind of thing, you'll find that in Strand Street in Douglas. All happy there. Emergencies and healthcare worth mentioning. So of course emergency number still 999 over here. I believe 112 should also work if you have a European phone, and you know, of course in Europe that's sort of our number, but officially it's 999, and that's for everything police, fire and ambulance. And if it's a non-emergency, then please use 631212 or 01624, which is the landline prefix on the Isle of Man, and 07624 is the mobile prefix on the Isle of Man. So 01624 if you have a foreign phone, +44 1624, and then 631212 is the police headquarter non-emergency line. Emergency services will be extremely busy during TT. They always are. So if it's not an emergency, it's just something you have a question or you notice something that's not urgent, use that number to tell the police or any other emergency service that can then pass that on. When it comes to healthcare, of course, we are part of the British Isles, which means, yes, if you are from the UK, your healthcare here is free, reciprocal agreement. It's kind of the same. It's not called NHS anymore here. It's now called Manx care. It's sort of run at arm's length. It's basically just a layer of management. And it's probably not quite as bad and overrun as it is in the UK, where the NHS is beyond broken, far beyond broken. But it is stretched. And Noble's Hospital, the only big hospital we have two hospitals. We have Ramsey Cottage Hospital, which is a small outlying hospital, and then we have Noble's, which is the main hospital. That's already stretched, and I mean stretched. It's operating on this sort of emergency, not good status, has done for quite a while. They just can't get staff. It's really down to management, government management. I think it's mainly, let's call it government incompetence, because I think that's what it is. But yeah, it's stretched. It's overstretched. Normal times, of course, during TT, when we get 30,000 visitors, it's going to be even more stretched. So my advice is, if it's not absolutely urgent, do not go to Noble's A&E, because you will have to wait if it's not urgent. Of course, if you have something life-threatening urgent, hit 999 and there'll be an ambulance with you. But if it's not urgent and you go to A&E, which is, so the main A&E is in Douglas at Noble's Hospital, expect to wait. If it's a minor injury, consider going to the Ramsey Cottage Hospital, which is, well, in Ramsey it's a 20-minute drive from Douglas, and that tends to be less busy. But during TT, all of these services will be extremely busy. If you have a non-life-threatening emergency in out of hours, then METS, Manx Emergency Doctor Service, that's the number also below, is there to help you. And of course, you can always head to a pharmacy who can or will hopefully be able to help you with most things if it's non-urgent. But try and avoid going to A&E if you don't have to. And of course, if you do have to go, expect to wait if it's not super life-threatening. If you're from further afield, make sure you have your proper health insurance, because otherwise you may end up with a bill. But as I said, if you're from the UK, of course, it's free, but there is a 6-month limit, I believe, on it. So keep that in mind. Hopefully you wouldn't have to stay in hospital for 6 months, but if it was to happen, I believe there's a 6-month limit to this free healthcare agreement. Telecoms, if you come here, make sure, so Isle of Man, again, if you're new to the island, yeah, we're British Isles, but no, we're not UK, so make sure that whatever phone provider you have, especially if you're from the States or further afield, that they cover the Isle of Man with your roaming package, that it's actually part of it. For example, I'm with Manx Telecom. If I go to the UK, it's already classed as roaming for me. So make sure that is the case. If you do need local SIM cards, we still only have 2 main local providers, Manx Telecom and Shore. Both still have shops in Strand Street right next to each other, where you can pick up a SIM card, no registration necessary, no ID or anything like in Germany. You just pay your money and you go. Shore still has the £5 for 5 GB pay-as-you-go SIM card. Manx Telecom, I think, has a similar one, where it's like £10 for 10 gig. Good 4G coverage all around the island. Still no 5G. Actually, there is one company that does 5G, but I think it's more for business. But the 2 main providers don't have 5G yet. But we have a very good, very stable, reasonably fast 4G coverage all over the island, which will enable you to use things like TT Plus. And that's also my next point. So TT Plus, of course, is back. That was a big change for last year, that you could, for the first time ever, watch the TT pretty much live with multi-camera setup, fixed cameras all around the course. Worked brilliantly, was absolutely beautiful feature. It's back for this year, $14.99. Sign up here for the whole fortnight. I think it's fantastic value for money for what they offer. It is really a awesome addition to the race. It elevates the spectating experience greatly. And what I really saw happening last year, and what we're going to see again this year, you have people sitting at the side of the track, and like I said, with spectating, you're looking at a lot of empty track at the TT, because a lap is 20 minutes, 17 to 20 minutes. And this time, where you would normally look at an empty track, you can now fill by having your phone putting TT Plus on there and then watching it live, and then you know when the bikes are going to come around. So it's definitely worth signing up for. It's fantastic value for money, and it will elevate your spectating experience. And because we have pretty stable 4G here, you will actually be able to watch that streaming video at the side of the track while you watch the race. So yeah, I highly recommend you check out TT Plus. They have a lot of free content as well. So if you don't want to pay, then you can, watch the summaries and the pre-stuff and all that. So there's already stuff on there now. So go and get that. It's definitely worth doing. What else is there? Of course, accommodation. You need to stay somewhere. That hasn't changed much either. We still have a lot of hotels, or you can go camping, plenty of campsites. I'm going to try and list a few below. I'm also going to list the main, Isle of Man TT related websites below. So you have your general info. Don't need to go through that. We still have, so the main ones are, either go to a hotel, you go camping, or glamping is a big thing now as well. You can do your Airbnb, there's a few, and of course you can do homestay. And homestay is the government-backed scheme that we have over here, where you can rent out your spare room in your house, basically, with government approval, and you get a tax break for it if you live here. And homestay, there's over 900 properties, I believe. This year was in the news the other day that signed up for it, so there's quite a bit of choice. Prices depend on what people want to charge, really. The good thing with homestay is, compared to Airbnb, homestay means someone came around and actually inspected the place, made sure it is fit for human habitation for starters, but it is safe. It has a smoke detector and complies with safety and is insured. So if you book with an official homestay property, if you spoke with someone privately, make sure they are homestay registered, because it gives you a sort of, it gives you a reassurance. There's a legal reassurance behind it and a safety reassurance. And there's over 900 properties registered, so TT has grown in popularity, and that means a lot of people, renting out their spare rooms, because we don't have enough hotel space here. So we have a few nice new hotels again, which is good, but we by far have nowhere near as many hotels as we used to have in the 70s and 80s. Expect prices to, of course, be quite high now, especially if you're in a hotel. It's TT, it's the 2 weeks where everyone makes a lot of money. And yeah, that's the nature of the beast. There's not much you can do. So yeah, prices will be sometimes quite high depending on where you stay. But I'm going to link to all the relevant accommodation options websites below, so you can check those out. Again, plenty of campsites if you want to go camping. So that's your accommodation sorted. What else do we need? Well, the formats up at the grandstand will still be the same. The paddock is still open, you can walk through. We still don't have a new scoreboard. The old one, of course, sort of rotted away after nobody looked after it. Completely miraculous that you need to actually maintain things. It's news to government over here. But so yeah, the old scoreboard that you remember, where the scouts used to write things on, that literally rotted away because it wasn't maintained. We were promised a new one. It hasn't turned up. Surprise, surprise. We also got a new timing hut next to the start line at the TT. You may notice this year, because the old one again rotted away. We're just not very good at maintaining things for some reason. One more thing that might interest you is your merchandise and souvenir options. They changed slightly this year. So every year, I think it's every year, or every few years, the contract for the actual TT merchandise, the official merchandise, goes out to tender. That's central government that does that. And seems it completely took them by surprise that they have to do this last year, because they left it way too late. From what I've heard, that's the story I've heard from very reliable sources. And as a result, the people who usually did most of the TT merchandise, and that's motorsport merchandise, they didn't tender for it. They basically said, you left it too late, we can't put in a tender, we can't get all the t-shirts and everything printed and done and manufactured on time. Very much a government screw up by the look of things. Not that our government would ever screw up on anything, they're perfect. As a result, the merchandise you may see this year might differ from what you saw the last years. Nobody really knows. They found some UK company last minute to do some of it, but I don't know how much stuff there will be available. There will be your usual stands behind the grandstand, I guess, where you can buy your t-shirts and jackets and whatnot. But the big shop that used to be down in Douglas, the Motorsport Merchandise TT shop, that's gone. And the other two shops, the TT shirts, there's a small one in the center of town and there's the bigger one along the promenade, they're still there. I think they bought up all the old stock from the other guy. But yeah, you may see a difference in the merchandise. There's still going to be merchandise around, I guess, but it was sort of a government screw up. Let's call it what it is. And yeah, so there might be a little less, or might be different quality or different designs. I don't know. We're all not sure what's going to happen there. But yeah, keep an eye out on that. Let me know how it goes. Also, if you want your cheap TT souvenirs, the bookstore in Douglas in Strand Street is still probably your best place for that. They still have, good, cheap TT stuff. And of course, behind the grandstand and plenty of other places, you get your fridge magnets and all that kind of stuff. So where food and drinks are concerned, I think you'll be just fine over here. We still have quite a few pubs. We have a growing number of good restaurants, especially as during the year people from all over the world move here for business. Choices have gone up. We have everything from really good Indian to Brazilian barbecue, Italian, lots of Asian places now, really good Thai places, Filipino noodle places. So yeah, you're not going to go hungry. There's plenty of choice. It's all pretty good quality these days. Drinks as well, plenty of good pubs. Cheapest booze to buy if you don't want to go to a pub, there is probably still, you head to a supermarket, like the likes of Tesco. If you want some nicer booze, then head to the wine cellar in Douglas. Still a great store. Still really good, especially local booze. I did actually a video on local booze. If you check my channel, there's one somewhere where I went to the wine cellar, talked to the guys about all the local booze, because there's quite a lot of local producers here, local companies now making really good stuff, from rum to vodka and all sorts of things. So check that one out if you want to try some proper local spirits. It's always worth doing. And of course, you have your local beers and all that kind of thing. So yeah, you're neither going to go hungry nor thirsty over here, that's for sure. So let's have a quick chat about driving and riding while you are on the Isle of Man. Of course, I have mentioned a lot of this last year already in that guide, so you can go back to that. But some of these things you cannot emphasize enough. So I wanted to mention them here again to make sure that you have a fun TT and a safe TT. So let's start with the fact we still do not have a national speed limit. That means if you see that magic sign at the side of the road, in theory you can put your foot down, go as fast as your bike or your car allows. Of course, in practice there are limitations. You are only allowed to do so when it's safe to do so, when the conditions allow. If you ride like a lunatic for traffic or in bad weather, or you endanger others, expect to be stopped, expect to be fined, and expect your TT to be very likely over, because the police do not take lightly to that. The police here have the TT spirits like last year when, go back to my last year's guide when we spoke to Sergeant Michael Taylor, the boss of the Roads Policing Unit. They want you to enjoy TT and they want you to have fun, but they also have a job to do. They have to keep people safe. They are the ones who clean up when it goes wrong, and it's not a nice job to do. And yeah, they have to find this almost impossible balance between having TT visitors come over and enjoy themselves and keeping everyone safe, and of course keeping normal traffic on the island going. This is a normal island. People live here, they go to work, they go to school, not everyone's here for TT. So keep that in mind. So yes, we don't have a speed limit, but we will have loads of speed limits, and I think they're going to do what they did again last year, which pissed off some people, but I think it worked quite well. And that's pretty much, there's going to be speed limits on all the roads, except, so temporary or permanent speed limits, except the mountain road from Ramsey to Douglas, which was one way or will be one way again, and where of course there is no speed limit. This means that yes, you're going to ride a bit slower around the island, and especially if you've been here for past TTs or outside of TT, you may be a bit miffed that some of the roads where you could go fast during those times you cannot now, but you can still have your blast over the mountain. And I think that is a fair balance and compromise by the police to keep things safe and still fun, and keep the sort of TT spirit alive, and the best possible sort of balance, I think. When you see speed limits on the island, the only advice I can really give you is to absolutely and religiously stick to them. It doesn't matter if it's 20 up to the hairpin, or 50 on the coast road, or 30 on Douglas Prom, or 20 when it becomes 20. If there's a speed limit, stick to it religiously. Don't even think about exceeding it. Point A, for safety reasons. But point B, the cops will be out with speed guns, they will enforce these limits, and you will be fined if you break these speed limits. Of course, once you hit the mountain, in theory, you can go fast. In practice, you can as well, as long as it's safe to do so. Again, if you ride like a dick and you endanger others, or you do it in conditions that aren't safe, then there are a lot of cops up there and they will stop you, and it may be the end of your TT. So there is a very, unique balance, I think, here between allowing people to have fun and keeping things safe. So keep that in mind. If you see speed limits, stick to them. Have your fun over the mountain when it's safe to do so. And the other thing is as well, stick to all the other things that are so important. Lane discipline, stay on your lane, especially if you're a car, stay, left. Do not cut corners, if bike or car. Do not, disrespect solid white lines or overtake like an idiot. Even if you are an experienced driver or rider, and of course we all like to think ourselves as being the best riders and drivers, even if you are an experienced rider and you've done the TT loads of times and it's all a piece of piss for you, you'll be surrounded by thousands of drivers and riders who may not be. And a lot of new tourists are coming over that have never been here. So think for them too. It's not just you, it's the others you have to think for. And especially for the new riders, if this is your first TT, I'm driving along the TT coast back to Douglas right now, I'm at Ballascary. If this is your first TT, then of course you're going to be very excited and you want to do your lap of the course as soon as you get here and have some fun and let your hair down. And by all means do so, but please do so carefully. And what I mean by that is, don't come over here and straight away hop on your bike and let out your inner McGuinness and go mental over the mountain. Treat these roads with respect. Driving on the Isle of Man is very different to anywhere else you've ever been. Even if you're just coming over from the UK, you will find it very different. The mountain road, where you can go fast, is a beautiful road. It's one of the best driving roads in the world for sure, but it's also one of the most dangerous roads in the world. Treat it with respect, learn it first, take it easy, and then if you want to go faster, build up and up and up until you sort of can ride there spirited but in a safe manner. Don't make the mistake a lot of visitors make who come here and think the course and go flat out and then crash. That happens way too often, so treat these roads with the utmost respect. Always think of others as well on the road. The island, we get for between 30 and 40,000 visitors, so that's 50% population on top. It's insanely busy. TT is very, very popular again, which is great. But that comes with other challenges, so you're not the only person on the road. So stick to the speed limits, treat the roads with respect, learn the roads. They will bite, and if you get it wrong here, it hurts. Okay, it does. There's plenty of stone walls and trees and sheep, and actually a sheep is probably the softest thing you could hit here. It will hurt, so be careful. The other thing, of course, is we drive and ride on the left, and I know that's a silly thing to say, but it's like I said last year, what happens or what tends to happen. So obviously we put the Linksfahren signs on the right side of the road for the German visitors. So if you see one of them on your side of the road, then you are from Germany and on the wrong side of the road. Move left. But what tends to happen, and I mentioned this last year as well, people aren't stupid, right? You all know how to ride and drive. You're going to drive and ride on the left, no biggie. But then you stop for a break, lunch, and view pictures, go for a walk, and then you hop back on your bike. And then you set off on the wrong side of the road because it's sort of a reflex. And that's what has happened a few times in the past and has resulted in bad accidents. So always remind yourself, on the left, stick as far as you can to the left as well. Lane discipline is super important. So many crashes happen, head-ons, where people cut corners, driving right dangerously. Just don't do that. And yeah, basically enjoy yourselves, but do it in a responsible way. We do not have fixed speed cameras still, but the cops will be out with mobile speed cameras, speed guns. They will, in most cases, be very visible. So if you do get pulled over by them, then you really had it coming, because we don't do what we do in Germany, for example. We don't have this sort of hidden, the Blitzer as we call them, things that are hidden in like bins or unmarked cars. They don't do that. If they are out with a laser gun, you will see them. And if you get pulled over, then you probably deserved it. Quick word on drink driving. Of course, a big no-no over here. I don't even know what the legal limit is at the moment, and I don't care, because the only advice I can really give you here is if you had any kind of alcohol, do not drive or ride. That's the only sensible advice I can really give you during TT. because it's so busy. You just need to be as sharp as you can be, and even one beer or one drink or one glass of wine can influence and affect your ability to drive and ride properly. So that's the only thing I can give you advice. But also worth mentioning is the fact that in the last year, I think it was, we received drug wipes. And now the police, if they stop you, they can also do a side of the road drug test. I don't know, I think you've just spit on it or something. So yeah, and that's a big no-no here as well. So if they stop you and your drug test comes back positive, then that's not going to be good for you. The Isle of Man is still very strict when it comes to drugs. It's not the same as in London or somewhere else where you can just walk down the road with a joint in your hand and nobody cares. It's still quite strict here. Now, if it's after me, they should have legalized that stuff ages ago and taxed it, but they haven't. So, maybe keep your dope somewhere else. Certainly don't drive after you've consumed drugs, even if it's like a day before or something. I don't know how far these tests go back, but I have seen people being done for positive drug tests, and so they have the laws and things for it, but I think it's still sort of a little questionable here and there, how it is enforced or how the rules are really going to be tested in court. There were some court cases, especially with drug drivers, where it wasn't, I think, quite clear how far back this can go and so on. So only advice I can give you is don't drink drive, don't drug drive, and you'll be just fine over here. The police will be out with plenty of marked cars. There will be unmarked cars as well, and I believe they will also have, of course, marked bikes, but also unmarked bikes. So, only that you don't see a cop somewhere doesn't necessarily mean they're not riding behind you. Again, they're not spoil sports. They're not here to ruin your TT. They're here to keep everyone safe. And that means, enforcing the speed limits that will be there and making sure people don't ride too stupid, because a lot of people unfortunately still do that. When it comes to getting around, of course, driving and riding is the easiest way. The island is still quite rural, so if you really want to go to all the spots at a schedule of your choosing, then there's no way around getting a car or a bike. I think there's bike and car rentals here. One car rental shut during Corona, but I think Apple Car Hire is still there. Certainly see them at the airport. Expect prices to go up, of course. We have very good public transport still. Plenty of buses going around. You get one of your go-karts. I'll put all the links in the description for the transport section. You can either get a go-kart that has a number of rides on it for the buses and things, or that is, I think, for a number of days. That's like a 7-day card or something that gives you everything. It's very affordable, very modern and nice public transport. So you'll be just fine there. And it's also, of course, a great way to get home after you had a few, so you don't drink drive. We still don't have Uber or Grab or any of the other ride-hailing, ride-sharing app services. We do have good old taxis, and I will put a few numbers in the bottom in the description that you can save in your phone, so when you're over here, you can order yourself a cab. And cab prices, they vary depending on time of day and day. Believe it or not. During the day there's one tariff, and then from midnight I think it's the night tariff, and that night tariff also I think applies on bank holidays or something. So not the cheapest by any means. I wouldn't go long distances with cabs. I would use a bus for that. For example, if you're in Douglas and you will go back to Peel or Ramsey or something, grab a bus, it's cheaper. From the airport, if you grab a taxi, if you can find one, usually pre-booking is what I would recommend. It's about 25 quid to Douglas and other amounts to other places. So it's not that bad, but have a few pounds in your pocket. Most cabs accept cards these days, but if you're unsure, if there's no sign on the door or something, then best ask before you hop in. There's cash points everywhere, so if it goes wrong, don't worry about it. They can just stop at the cash point. Of course, we have all the other wonderful transport methods. We have the horse tram, which I'm about to pass here on Douglas Promenade. That's running again on a shortened track from the Summerland side, if you know the island, to Villa Marina. We have the electric railway from Douglas to Ramsey, and from Lexi up onto Snaefell Mountain if you want to do that. It's very touristy. Of course, we have the steam trains. They are running. So yeah, plenty of choice for you there if you want to take a more relaxed look around the island and the more sort of Victorian experience. Plenty of new cycle paths as well. They're trying to push cycling here, but honestly, I wouldn't really cycle during TT because there's so many bikes and cars, so it just doesn't feel safe. If you are into cycling and you're coming over here with your bike, be advised that the mountain road is closed for cyclists during TT. There are signs there. You always get a few lycra fetishists who disregard that sign and do it anyway, but officially the Isle of Man mountain road from Ramsey to Douglas, the one-way area without a speed limit, is closed for cyclists during TT, and for good reason. You wouldn't want to come around the corner doing 150 and see a lycra-clad backside in front of your car. Not what you want. So, if you're a cyclist, stay off the mountain. Only for TT, you can come back after. A very quick note on fuel, and if you're driving an EV, so fuel-wise, you're going to see loads of these Allen Vannon fuel. Plenty of fuel stations here. Fuel prices are more or less the same as they are in the UK. So on the mainland over there, we don't have the kind of supermarkets with petrol stations where you may get cheaper fuel if you buy groceries there. It doesn't work here, so it's just petrol stations. As far as I'm aware, there's only one that's 24 hours, and that's the one down opposite KFC. Also an Allen Vannon fuel EVF. I'll put the coordinates in the description, so if you ever need 24/7 fuel, that's the one you go. Fuel quality is the same as UK, no differences there. Plenty of fuel stations around. If you go on reserve fuel, then, you know, it's a small island. You're going to make it to a petrol station, that's for sure. If you drive an EV, then we have only the PodPoint network. So you need to download the PodPoint app. There are no other chargers apart from obviously private ones. And I think the only other one is at the Motor Museum in Derby, but you may have to ask the guys to switch them on. And they're not on the PodPoint network, but they have chargers outside. They even have a Tesla charger. There are no Tesla superchargers here, in case you're wondering, apart from the one, I think, at the museum, if it works. And yeah, other than that, get the PodPoint network, plenty of charge points. Unfortunately, the fastest we have on the island, charging points, is the one at the sea terminal in Douglas, and that's a 50 kilowatt. We don't have anything faster than that. So if you're looking forward to 100 or 300 or something, it's not happening. Most of the ones we have here are either 7 kilowatts or 22s. And other than that, you have one rapid charger at the sea terminal, the 50 kilowatt. They're all in the app. App works pretty well, plenty of charge points by now. There's even a charge point up at the bungalow on the mountain road. If you happen to, you know, have a break at the Victory Cafe and you want to recharge, you can do that there. But we only have PodPoint, that's it for AVs. For petrol, diesel, everything, you have these guys, plenty of stations around. Cash or card, no worries there. So you're not going to break down because you don't have fuel. So much for this being a short TT guide. I'm already at over an hour, so time's about to wrap this up, I guess. I just wanted to throw a few things out there, a quick list of places, sites, attractions that you can see, visit, do. Let's start with all the scenic stuff. Definitely when you're over here, do head down to the Sound, the Calf of Man, Craignish Village. It's the southernmost tip, so the Sound is the southernmost tip of the Isle of Man. Absolutely beautiful down there. There's a little cafe so you can have a scone and enjoy the view and, you know, see the seals and dolphins and all that. You cannot go over to the Calf of Man. There are boats going over. Just basically Google it. There's someone who has a little boat who can bring you over. When you're in Douglas, go up Douglas Head and enjoy the view over Douglas Bay. Or go on the other side of the promenade, which is towards Onken, where the electric railway sign is, our version of a Hollywood sign. If you go up there, there's the Steve Hislop statue. Also absolute beautiful view over Douglas. Of course, when you're down on Douglas Promenade, don't forget to take a picture with our wonderful Bee Gees statue. Of course, the Bee Gees were born here, as I'm sure you know. That's super popular with tourists. So many people take pictures there. When you're up on the mountain by the bungalow, of course, if you want to walk up Snaefell and see the Seven Kingdoms, I'll let you to Google what the Seven Kingdoms are. Takes you from the bungalow, if you park there, to walk up, takes you maybe 25-30 minutes, but do bring some good shoes because it's wet and it's muddy, and of course it's always windy up there, so bring a windbreaker or good clothing. But it's worth going up to Snaefell. If it's a nice day, you get beautiful views over the island. If you don't want to go up and you're down at the bungalow, of course there's the Victory Cafe. It's a brilliant place to hang out. Not just during the races, even outside. There's a Joey Dunlop statue up there. That's a must do if you're here for the TT. When you're in Douglas, don't forget to go to the Manx Museum. That's free. When you're in Peel, you might want to check out the House of Manannan. That's also sort of museum, the story of man kind of thing. It's really nice. Also check out Peel Castle. That's definitely worth going. And then afterwards, head down on the promenade, have an ice cream at Davidson's, that's a must do. When you're in Castletown, the town itself definitely worth a visit. Absolutely beautiful place, beautiful town square. Well done to commissioners there. We're well jealous of what you have there, because Douglas doesn't really have a town square like that, so nice job. But when you're in Castletown, area around the harbour is really nice, but what you really want to do is go into Castle Rushen. It's a very well preserved medieval castle. Again, teaches you a bit about the history of the island, and if you go to the top of it, you get very nice views of Castletown and the island. Ramsey is also always worth a trip, definitely. If you go up to, well, if you want to watch on the mountain, and you can walk up from Ramsey towards Albert Tower, that's the tower you see on Ramsey. There's another tower you want to check out in Port Erin, Milner's Tower. You can see that's the tower you see from a distance. You can walk up there, park at the Glen, walk up, takes you maybe about 30 minutes. But yeah, in Ramsey, you can walk up towards the Gooseneck, Albert Tower. Beautiful, nice day out. If there's no racing, you can drive up pretty close to it and just go there if you don't want to walk. For spectating, up there, of course, the Gooseneck is absolutely beautiful. There's a back road to it, if you want to Google it, so you can actually go there during racing, but it does get busy, so you're best off on a bike or walking there, because people will park there. What else can you do here? You can go and, of course, look at King Ori's grave. He's a Viking king. It's near Lexi. You can Google how to get there. It's easy. I'll put the coordinates below. And of course, while you're near Lexi, you have to see the Lexi wheel, the biggest working water wheel in the world. And yes, I know, I think China actually built a bigger one now, but we're just going to say it's the biggest in the world. Beautiful thing. Go there, have a look at it. I think it's all fixed now, so you should actually be able to go up as well. And if you walk along there, of course, it's one of the many beautiful glens we have. So you can check those out. While we're at Glens, if you like your trains, of course you're in heaven here with the electric railway, the steam railway, but we also have the Groudle Glen Railway, and Groudle Glen is absolutely beautiful little place. Go and check that out. And tons of other things I could tell you. I mean, there's good websites. I'll put like the Visit Isle of Man and a couple of other resources in the description. But yeah, there's plenty to do outside of the racing, especially if you like the outdoors and beautiful nature. Then you'll be right at home here, and I hope you enjoy your time here. So what else is left to mention? Maybe a quick note about money and payments. Of course, the Isle of Man does have its own banknotes and coins. They have the same value as the normal pound. It is the British pound, but it doesn't say sterling on it. This really only matters when you leave the island and you still have some Manx pound notes or Manx coins in your pocket, because you may find them very difficult to spend in the UK or exchange when you're back home, because people may not have seen them before. So all cash machines over here will give you Manx notes or English notes. There's two exceptions, and that's the cash machine at the sea terminal and the cash machine at the airport. Both of them only give out English notes. So if you want to be absolutely sure to get English notes, use those two. Otherwise, you may end up with Manx pound notes and you may not be able to exchange them. Any bank should actually take them, but sometimes, people look a bit funny if you're in the UK in a shop or something. So yeah, if you leave the island, make sure, unless you want a souvenir, you don't have Manx notes in your pockets. Of course, payments here, cash card, most places take card of any sort, absolutely no problems there. From taxis to your chip shop to anything else, you can just pay with your card. Now, one thing that does tend to happen is if you are buying, for example, food or something behind the grandstand and it's a really, really busy day, all those point of sale terminals, they're of course run off the mobile network, and that can drop on its ass at times. Even though it's 2023, it still happens. So maybe if you go up to the grandstand, have a couple of quid in your pocket just in case the network goes down. It has happened, not as much as ever before in the past, but it has happened last year. So just as a backup, but other than that, you can just pay with your card everywhere, absolutely no problems at all. And last but not least, a quick word on parking. We do have plenty of disc parking and paid for parking on the island. I just want to give you a couple of hints and tips on this. So we do not have any towing or any clamps. Now, technically it's allowed to clamp a car on private land, but I think the only place that really ever does it is the one hotel down here, and there's big signs. You will not get clamped if you're on, for example, Douglas Promenade, where I'm now. You will not get towed unless you really obstruct a highway or something. But if you just park there and you're not paid for your parking, or you exceed the 2-hour disc parking, no, you're not going to get clamped, you're not going to get towed. You're going to get a ticket. That's, I think, 60 quid. Now, I shouldn't tell you this, but if you are not from here and you have a UK number plate or further afield, then let's just say enforcing that ticket and collecting the money from you, well, it's unlikely to happen. Don't take that as, a voucher to park like a dick. Please be considerate. Having said that, we of course get thousands of bikes coming over, and the Department of Infrastructure, who enforce the parking on this part of it, and Douglas Council, we only enforce it in our properties. They tend to have a more tolerant approach during TT because there simply aren't enough parking spaces for all the bikes, and there are, great new wide areas on the new promenade where bikes basically make their own big bike parks, and it's totally okay. It's sort of, it's accepted. You have to park somewhere, so just try and be a little considerate. Don't block any pavement, sidewalks, or any roadways. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty relaxed here, and you'll be fine. You're not going to get towed. You're not going to get clamped. And if you get a ticket, well, I mean, of course you're going to pay it, right? So, as you see the horse tram going past there, that's the end of this guide for TT 2023. I'm going to put chapters in so you can hop between topics, bookmark this thing. I'm going to put tons of links in the description for all the things I talked about. I hope it will help you to have an enjoyable TT and a safe TT. And I want to end on something, or with an idea that I had before, and now I thought, screw it, let's do it. As you know, I'm a Douglas councillor. Of course, that's Douglas Promenade, hence the horse tram. And as such, my contact details and those of my 11 colleagues are already public. If you go to Douglas Town Hall, there's literally our pictures outside and our phone numbers and addresses. So as my details are public anyway, I figured, fine, let's extend this to TT visitors, because this is something I wanted to do before, and I actually suggested to government that we should have a sort of TT ambassador, if you want, or someone like a tourist helpline, or someone who's just there and who you can message if you have any questions, anything non-urgent. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's my number. Of course, you can ask questions in the comments. You can email me. Lots of people do that. But if you have any, questions like that, you can message me. I will reply when I'm free. Can't guarantee it's going to be immediately. Can't guarantee I'm going to know the answer. But if I know the answer, or if I can direct you in the right direction, I will reply to you and let you know. Please note, this is not for any kind of emergencies. If you have an emergency, it's 999. If you need the police, non-emergency, or any emergency service, 631212. So don't phone me if you're falling down a cliff at 2 a.m. I'm not the guy for that. But if you have any TT related questions, please feel free to contact me. If I know the answer, I will reply. And yeah, I hope that's, a bit of a helpful resource. And I thought it's something we should have anyway. So, simple idea. And of course, if you want to buy me a beer, you're more than welcome to message me. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do during TT. As always, I make last minute plans. It starts on the 29th, which is a bank holiday, and I'm kind of thinking at the moment I might try something with live streaming just to cut down on editing times, because it's quite time intensive, but we'll see. I have absolutely no idea. I will be out and about somewhere, so if you see the red cap somewhere, feel free to say hello. Always makes my day when people do that. Feel free to message me with any questions, or if you just, maybe want to meet for a beer. Always happy to meet new people and fans of the races. So let me be your TT helpline if you want. And other than that, I hope you have an enjoyable TT, a safe TT. Take care. That's it for this video, and I will hopefully see you on the Isle of Man in just a few days' time. Take care.